Tonight on the season premiere of Reel to Reel, we have the heartwarming story of people making dreams come true with the help of the Golden Arches.
And we'll take you behind the scenes for a rare look at the people who make Reel to Reel a reality.
Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons and Rosemary Bruno return.
And we'll salute the working class with a look at a company owned by its employees.
Hello, I'm Isabel Gauvry.
And I'm Father Dave McAllen. Welcome back to a new season of Reel to Reel. Vacations are over. You're back to work and we're back to the studio, and it's great being here with you, Belle, and with you, our viewers.
Well, it's good to be back with you too, Father.
Thanks, Belle.
And we hope that all of you had a wonderful vacation.
We've got a whole new season lined up, and boy, what a season it's going to be.
That's right. In May of 1986, Reel to Reel will be returning to Europe, but this time when our cameras go, they won't be going alone. We're going to be taking some of you along with us.
And for our fans of Father Tom Legere, we're setting up special half-hour segments with Father Legere and with some of you in the audience.
And speaking of Father Legere, last year's relationship segments proved so popular that we're going to be making the complete series of messages of both Father Legere and Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons available in transcript and video cassette form.
You can add to that a whole new lineup of stories. And we're going to have back our regulars like Mike Gallagher and Rosemary Bruno. Our first story tonight is a story in two parts. We're going to be taking you behind the scenes so that you can see how Reel to Reel is put together.
We'll be taking you through the whole production process, from pre-production meetings, the actual shooting, editing, right down to our introduction here on the set.
And after that, we're going to show you the finished product. So sit back while we demystify some of the magic of television.
Look at that DABAR piece again.
Okay.
Before you go into that.
We're gonna put the two of those together on the same
Right,
show.
hopefully, let's see what you can get out.
Okay.
Is this a 3-minute or 5-minute? As with any project, it all starts with an idea. At the monthly story conference of Reel to Reel, producer Anne-Marie Bro presents her ideas for a story on the Ronald McDonald House, a story that would look at the house from a different aspect, as a dream that came true for its planners.
What I want to do is look at the people who made the dream happen. I want to go back and talk to them about commitment and dedication and the ability to dream big. You know,
Well, I started as a field producer, and then I worked my way up to associate producer. And now as the executive producer, I'm responsible for the overall content of the show, working with producers on their stories, helping them shape their stories, making sure the schedules are okay, the actual productions and the post-production and editing with people. And just to see that the show has a cohesive look, that it conveys a message that's consistent. So I not only have to get a show out every week, but make sure that that show has a similar message and that it follows what it is we're trying to do with Reel to Reel.
Yes, may I speak to Don Tuckerman, please?
Once the executive producer has okayed the story, the producer's work really begins. Research, scouting locations, setting up interviews, all of this must be done before the cameras can roll.
Well, it's always nice when a story has some aspects that are exciting visually, but that's not a primary consideration. We think of Reel to Reel as one way for the church to build community among its members. So I look for things that are interesting and up-to-date and informative, maybe that teach or challenge and inspire, that also entertain.
Once all of the details have been worked out, Anne-Marie, Len, and I have one final meeting to go over the shooting schedule. And then it's time to get the show on the road, literally. As you can see from the equipment, there's a lot more to taping a story than pointing the camera and saying action.
So it's going to be something like this, Anne-Marie. We're going to start on that sign there.
Yeah.
I'm going to pan right, tilt down. Belle's going to be in the center.
On the shoot itself, the producer and talent take a back seat to the technicians. In what can be described as a symbiotic relationship, the producer has the concept. The cameraman must have the expertise to get that concept across to the audience.
Well, this is a technical medium that we're dealing with, so there are many technical considerations that are made. But in any given story, there are also some time constraints and specific pieces of information that we've got to get into the story. But in spite of those limitations, I always try to go for an aesthetically pleasing shot, and keeping in mind that it is a visual medium, if the shots aren't pleasing to look at, the message will probably be lost.
Now we've arrived at the really difficult part, taking 80 minutes worth of tape and piecing together a 5-minute story. And once again, creativity and technology are working hand in hand.
Termination.
Well, the overall technical quality of the show is my sole responsibility. But when it comes to composition, content, that's really between the producers. I won't fight them on that. I refuse to reproduce the program for the producers. However, I do see something that I feel will not work. Rather than sitting there and arguing with the producer, I'll actually show them their way as opposed to mine, and we usually try and come to a happy medium.
Once the piece is finished, it passes into the hands of director Vince Celli. While writing the script for the show, otherwise known as raps, Vince decides on the best placement for the story and then meets with the executive producer and co-hosts to work out the final staging.
Television today is very quick. It's very fast-paced. It can whip by you in the blink of an eye. Even though we are a religious program, we have to consider ourselves in competition with that type of programming. So it's up to me as a director to work with the talent to make sure that the timing is fast, the show overall is fast, the pacing is good, and that the talents exude a chemistry on camera that will be very appealing and becoming to our viewers.
Finally, after many weeks of preparation and the efforts of 7 fairly hard-working people, a microphone is adjusted, a prop provided, and it's lights, camera, action.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll count you down from 5, 4, 3.
Look up the word dream in any dictionary, and here are some of the definitions that you'll find. A succession of images, thoughts, or emotions occurring during sleep. A daydream or reverie. A wild fancy, something of unreal beauty. Well, tonight we do have a daydream for you, a wild fancy that became reality.
It's the story of the first Ronald McDonald House, located here in Philadelphia and started over 10 years ago. It's also the story of caring professional people who give of themselves to work for the house that love built. Philadelphians are well acquainted with 3925 Chestnut Street. It is the address of the first Ronald McDonald House, which recently celebrated 10 years of service to families of children with long-term illnesses.
At the Ronald McDonald House, I like being here because it's a home away from home. And when I'm waiting for a bed at the hospital, I can play and be with friends and talk and get my feelings out while not being discomforted being away from home. So it's very comforting, and I desperately need to have my mom with me at these trying moments.
Today, the well-established Ronald McDonald Houses provide homes for the families of sick children in cities as far away as Los Angeles, Toronto, and even Sydney, Australia. But let's just step back for a moment and take a look at some of the original dreamers, those who worked hard to make the Ronald McDonald Houses a reality. Success doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of luck and a knack for being in the right place at the right time. But it also demands commitment and determination.
Basically, I wanted a house in the neighborhood that belonged to the hospital that people could use to stay in.
Dr. Audrey Evans has devoted her life to the research and care of young cancer patients. It was she who first recognized the need for the Ronald McDonald House.
The rooms were crowded, so parents were sleeping on chairs in the hall or down in the lobby, so that there was the actual physical need. Also, you can go and stay at a hotel in Philadelphia, but that could be costly, and so the staying for a week or 10 days in a hotel would be, for many parents, would be prohibitive. And I also had in mind that I would like the children to stay there too, if possible, if we had a home.
Did you have any hesitation or doubts when you began?
No, I knew there was a need. And I have learned that if you see a need, you start to resolve it, and you have faith that whatever you need to do that will be met. So that I just went ahead. Some group of people said, go ahead and do it, so I went and do it without myself having to worry about where the money would come from. So I knew it would come from somewhere.
The need for a home away from home was obvious. When the time was ripe, Dr. Evans was prepared to take the necessary steps. She turned first to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, we called it Past the Helmet, and I said, let's wait, and hopefully there'll be some kind of little help from upstairs. And we just scored a touchdown, and everybody was in a very up mood, and we raised so much money, and of course it's been an annual event and a big fundraiser for Eagles Fly for Leukemia.
Despite the generosity of Eagles team members and fans, Jim realized a consistent funding source was essential. True to his nature, he brought the problem to prayer.
You know, I remember the nuns at Sisters of St. Joseph and Mother of Sorrows and the Mercy nuns at Holy Cross saying, every big dream starts with a little prayer. And calling Don Tuckerman and having McDonald's say yes, the local McDonald's operators started this big dream.
Well, McDonald's is an extremely community-minded organization. And the thought of being able to help so many people in need appealed to them.
As president of Elkman Advertising, Don Tuckerman had worked with the Eagles on many McDonald's promotions.
And Jim told me about this need that Dr. Evans had come up with. And I took it to the McDonald's people and told them of the need and the plan, and they agreed. And I guess it was really cemented when I said that if they did open the house, I felt certain we could call it the Ronald McDonald House.
In less than a year, the first Ronald McDonald House was opened and completely debt-free. But those who had watched the dream unfold knew there were sick children in every city across the country. Don Tuckerman shared the story at a National McDonald's convention.
And at the conclusion of the presentation, literally there were 1,000 teary-eyed people, and some of these people are kind of hardened business people, but everybody reacted and could empathize with the need. And that really started it because they said, we'd like to have one of those where we live, and these were people that represented McDonald's from all over the world.
McDonald's operators listening to Don Tuckerman had no trouble in recognizing the possibilities for expansion of the program begun here in Philadelphia. Former Eagles manager Jim Murray has guided the growth of Ronald McDonald houses on both the national and now the international levels.
There are so many good people in the world, and that's what I found. I'm committed to the Ronald McDonald House for the rest of my life. I'm a missionary, and I'm going to stay with it until I go to wherever I'm going.
From a business standpoint, I think as an agency, we have a philosophy that we try to project to our clients, and that is, if you're in business and you're taking money from the community, there should come a time when your business should give back to the community. So we think that every company should have a program where they are giving back to the community.
What have the rewards been?
Oh, immense rewards. How many people can say that they really do what they want to do and be paid to do it and have so much satisfaction, both with the medical side is going well, and we're not going well enough, but we've made enormous strides in curing children with cancer in 25 years. I know wonderful people, the people I work with, the people we take care of. I mean, who could ask for more than that?
In this day and age, it's encouraging to see a company as massive as the Golden Arches putting so much time, effort, and money into living the Golden Rule.
Coming up next, we have Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons with relationships.
And Rosemary Bruno with In the Know. So stay with us.
Imagine the determination and energy it took to ride up this hill 15 times at the first national men's bicycle race here in Manayunk on the street known as The Wall. Today in Relationships, we're going to talk about the determination, energy, and love that it takes to be successful in our relationships and in our life tasks. Now, each one of us, you and I, each of us has a special calling, a special role in life. And we're meant to be successful in our relationships and in our call in life. The problems that many people have, though, are that they fail to realize that in order to be successful, we need more than willpower. We need to be refreshed and restored daily in love. Now, suppose you're not being refreshed and restored daily in love. What symptoms might you have to tip you off? The first is tiredness. A major cause of tiredness is a lack of refreshment and restoration and love. Secondly, irritability. Third, recurrent illness. Fourth, an emptiness that might lead to addictions, alcohol addictions, sexual addictions. If you're not being renewed in love, you might turn to these other things to try to fill you up and energize you. Okay, now what can be done to strengthen us so that we can take this determination and love and be successful in our lives? The first thing is to receive love. You and I, each one of us, needs to receive love daily. We need love to strengthen us, to energize us. But in order for that to happen, we need to first know that we are lovable. And we are lovable. Of course we're lovable. We're all made in God's image, and therefore, by definition, we are lovable. But many people don't feel that they're lovable, and that's why it's helpful every day to be thankful that you are lovable. And finally, I don't know how those bicycle riders did it, but I really believe that if we were to take some of the determination that they had and put it into our relationships, that each one of us would experience greater success and greater happiness in our lives.
As always, transcripts of Dr. Fitzgibbon's message will be available by writing us here at Reel to Reel. And beginning this season, we have a special offer for our regular viewers and our soon-to-be regular viewers.
We've compiled the individual talks of Dr. Fitzgibbons and Father Legere, and we'll be making them available to you in video cassette or transcript form.
For a small donation to cover postage, we will send you the complete messages of Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons or Father Tom Legere.
And for a donation of $15 or more, we'll send to you a video cassette of either Dr. Fitzgibbons or Father Legere as they appeared on our show. To order, please write to us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Please be sure to specify which you would like: a single transcript specifying subject of the talk, the complete series of transcripts, or the video cassette.
Also, specify if you'd like the messages of Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons or Father Tom Legere.
And if you are ordering the video cassette, please specify VHS or Beta format. But right now, for an update of current events, let's welcome back Rosemary Bruno.
Thank you, Belle, and good evening. New York Archbishop John O'Connor has warned that the right to health care for the poor is being threatened by developments in the business of medicine. Writing in the United States Catholic Conference's annual Labor Day message, the Cardinal said the rise in investor-owned for-profit facilities appears to have a direct relationship to reduced access for the poor and the uninsured. Cardinal O'Connor also said church groups should work with labor unions, senior citizen, and other groups to identify and meet local health care needs. Because of an increased awareness of the Ethiopian famine, Catholic Relief Services reported a huge increase in contributions in 1984. The Overseas Aid Agency said its funding jumped $95 million over the 1983 amount for a total of $437 million. Private contributions from U.S. groups and individuals totaled $10 million in 1983, but rose to almost $38 million when news of the famine spread. Cardinal Jean Jerome Amer met with religious superiors of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia during a visit here on August 16th. Following Mass at St. Charles Seminary, the prelate, who heads the Vatican Congregation for Religious and Secular Institutes, discussed concerns of the Holy See with the men and women religious. At another stop on his tour, the Cardinal repeated demands that U.S. religious who signed a pro-choice abortion ad last fall must reaffirm their support for church teaching on the subject. Saying that only the right to life is a legitimate civil right, the USCC is threatening to withhold support of a civil rights bill unless the legislation contains anti-abortion provisions. In testimony and other statements, the conference has said it supports the principles of the Civil Rights Reformation Act, but that it must contain stronger language against abortion. That's the news. For In the Know, I'm Rosemary Bruno.
We're going to take another break. When we return, we'll take a look at a Virginia-based company where the employees are the owners.
So stay with us.
These workers are the owners of one of the fastest growing small companies in the nation. And while they may not look or dress the part, they do indeed own and operate the business. And that gives them a special feeling.
It gives you more enthusiasm plus a better outlook towards your work. I feel like I'm part of the company as well as anyone else, or as well as the administrators.
As an employee, it gives you a chance to participate in the direction the company goes from any level.
The dignity of the worker has been foremost in the minds of the U.S. Catholic bishops as they write their pastoral letter on the American economy. For Warren Brown, the dignity of the worker has been important since 1972 when he founded ComSonics, a repair services corporation serving the cable TV and satellite communications industries.
When we structured this company, my wife and I made a very, I think, important decision. We decided that the employees should own part of the company and should do it through a trust. The tools available at that time, that was 1972 when we formed this company, were inadequate to that end. By 1974, the tax legislation brought into being what is known as ESOP, or Employee Stock Ownership Plan. Very simply stated, it is a trust mechanism that provides for employee ownership of stock. The tool by which that is done is an external trust, such as in our case, it happens to be a bank that acts as the trust reservoir into which stock is deposited. That stock is paid for by annual contributions that come from the corporation, paid to the trust, so the trust has the money to buy stock in the name of the employees. Most ESOPs have ownership that is maybe 30, 40%, sometimes 50%, but it's rare to have a company whose objective is 100% employee ownership of the stock. That is our goal, and it'll be completed within 5 years.
Sharing the financial pie is just one facet of the ComSonics program. A very unusual policy at this company is that virtually every employee is involved in the day-to-day management of the operation.
I think the tool works so well with the concept of management by what I call participation, where the employees are actually involved in the day-to-day management of the company, financial decisions all the way down the line. And they know what the company is doing, and they know how to operate the company, and in fact do provide the annual plan by which the company operates. We find that it also requires a good deal of training on the part of the employees to be able to understand and participate in the overall structure of the company as an owner as well as a participator.
We have a sales department, and they incur expenses every day. Because if they're not selling, then you're not going to have anything to fix or repair. So those folks have got to be out there just working hard all the time, constantly, drumming up more business to assure us that we keep our jobs every day. Now I'll stop now and ask y'all if y'all have any questions.
Hey, what exactly do you mean by direct cost?
Direct cost is just about everything.
There are really 3 peer groups within our company, and they correspond to the levels of management. The first level of management, of course, other than myself, is the level of the operating line executives, who are vice presidents in our company. They meet twice per month on a peer basis without me present, and they discuss the problems of the organization and how they're going to solve them together with the financial consequences of those problems. Then twice per month, the next level of peer relationship, which is at the supervisory level, the supervisors meet and have similar meetings.
I think first of all we got to know what each other's needs are.
I think we better do something else too, John. First, we need to get with Warren and see what he's thinking on, what his thoughts are too, because he may have some plans going on.
Some expansion.
At the worker level, the meetings take place in a different form. Those meetings take place on an ad hoc problem-solving basis. You got a problem, you get to it, and you find out what the solution is, and if the solution requires a policy change, you then write up the policy change that is required and carry it on up through the chain. Some of the employees have been with us now for the 11 years that the trust has been in place, have some rather awesome value in their stock accounts already, so they're very concerned about the productivity in the company.
Donald Sutter is one such employee. He's been with the accounting department at ComSonics since 1974.
Having worked under a lot of other type companies and for other places, it was just an unheard of advantage to me that someone was willing to give me a say and be heard in the policy and the planning and the running at any level in the company, and still then to share in whatever we was able to make of the company. And I've enjoyed working for a president with that type of philosophy.
I think that the ESOP concept provides for the ultimate development of the dignity of the worker, because the worker is no longer just an employee. They are no longer just a manager. They are no longer just a corporate officer. They become the owners of the business.
Braun's convictions on the dignity of the worker are right in line with the pastoral letter on economics that the U.S. Catholic bishops are currently writing. In the first draft, the bishops wrote, "Management and workers should develop new forms of partnership and cooperative ownership and worker participation in ownership and decision-making."
So the old wage system is giving way to a recognition that wages alone, based on labor alone, are an insufficient explanation of how work is accomplished in today's society.
Frank Duffy is a management and financial consultant in Atlanta. He's also a Catholic layman who believes the idea of shared ownership is central to the Church's teaching on economics.
The Catholic bishops can bring to the American culture a very rich legacy. I think in the country has a tradition of being religious. And I think the religious reality is beginning to be accepted as that. Not something that's for Sunday only, but I think the sense that we are children of God, that we have rights, we have talents, and we want to use them in community with other people. I think with this new idea of shared ownership, we're paving the way for that legacy of Catholic thought to find an application today that's been kind of neglected for many, many years.
It has always been my impression that we have a special responsibility to our brother, that we are truly our brother's keeper, and we are truly more than a neighbor to our neighbor. And I think this gives us an opportunity to share in a very special way and to pass on that concept of sharing to other people and have them participate in the sharing process.
Well, I've enjoyed working here, and I hope to spend the rest of my working days here at the company.
Well, for this week, we're out of time.
But we don't want to leave without giving you the address and telling you what's coming up next week.
Write us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Next week on Reel to Reel, we'll bring you the inspirational story of Eileen George.
And travel to Allentown, PA to meet a manufacturer of computerized church organs.
Mike Gallagher will address the problem of pornography.
Father Joseph Martin will discuss the mysteries of God's will.
And we'll travel to Ohio to meet communities of people bonded by faith. So join us next week. Good night.
Good night. And remember, Jesus is Lord.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Call area 215-565-7070.
At the Philadelphia Civic Center, September 27th to 29th, there will be the Charismatic Rally. I'm Monsignor Walsh, head of the Charismatic Prayer Groups, and I'm inviting you for that 3-day rally. Be with us and experience God's love. To register, write to the following address: